is a wonderful screenwriter, and you also have done some music videos, a little documentary. Tell us about yourself and what you have in the Venus Italian International Film Festival.
Well, I'm so happy to be in this festival with you. This is the third time I've been in a festival with you. Cutting Room twice, this festival, and hopefully I'll get to go to Procida when that festival happens.
We
So
hope.
for this, right, hopefully. For this festival, I have a screenplay called The Past Comes Back,
Mhm.
which is a not necessarily a sci-fi, but it's a combination of sci-fi and thriller and fantasy. And it's about a group of very close friends who were teenagers together and used to play cards together and do all the things that young boys would do at 18, 19 years old. And now they've met up again after many years together at someone's house, and they're going to play a game, but it's not going to be a card game. It's going to be a game of where they go back into their lives and they find that they were other people in their past lives. And that information leads them to transform their current life.
And they're famous, they're well-known people, right? That
Yeah,
they
that's right. So as an example, can I give you an
Yeah,
example
one
of a
example.
couple of the
Don't give the
characters?
whole script away, but yeah.
Yeah, so one of the characters happens to have been Christopher Columbus.
Hmm.
And so when he first goes back into that life, he was a very proud Italian American. All these friends were Italian American and grew up in Italian American neighborhoods, that type of thing. And he was he grew up with believing that Christopher Columbus was like a saint, discovered America and stuff. And then years later, as an adult, learned that he had been quite mean to people, indigenous people, American Indians who lived here, and also women. And he, raped and pillaged various different villages and stuff. So what he does is when he goes back and finds out he was Christopher Columbus, first he's thinking of all the wonderful things that he might do in a current life with that kind of notoriety and stuff. But then he finds out that darker side of Christopher Columbus, and it makes him realize that he had a darker side. With his ex-wife, he was very abusive, put it that way. And it gives him an opportunity to come clean about that, not only to himself, but to the friends that are now in this card game. So he's a person whose life had been changed. So he went back to be Christopher Columbus. It had a beneficial impact on his current life. He's literally transformed during that meeting with his friends. Another person goes back and had always wanted to be an artist, a sculptor, like his grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is he goes back into this, he goes back and he becomes Michelangelo. And now in the film, you'll see Michelangelo laying on his back, painting the Sistine Chapel, and then you'll see him in other scenes doing other paintings and sculpture. And then what happens is that he, all of a sudden in his present day, his present life, he realizes that he can go and sculpt something right then and there. He had no creative skill in the present life. But when he went back, he found out that his grandfather, he knew his grandfather was, and there he is. It's somewhat of a comical scene. There he is sculpting out of a watermelon. He takes the watermelon that's on the buffet and was going to be eaten during their get-together, and he carves it up and he sculpts the Pieta out of that. And and everyone is like shocked that he all of a sudden scopes this thing. He's shocked himself that he could do that, and that leads that has a role, an important role in the screenplay, because one of the other characters, who was a real troublemaker way back then, and there are
The
flashbacks.
characters away.
I won't give them all away,
Yeah,
but I just want to mention that
yeah.
they the characters not only go back to their past lives, but they also go back to their their childhood. So you're watching you'll be watching a movie of people in their early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, and then you'll see how they were as 14-year-olds and 19-year-olds and stuff like that, and then you'll see them in these other characters. So that screenplay actually came from a conversation with you, as you know.
Yes. You actually read me a poem, and it blew me away because you also write tons of poems. And this one, I don't know, for some reason, you just said, I have to read you this poem. And I said, okay. And I said, this has to be a screenplay. You have to write this. It's an incredible story.
Yeah.
I love the concept of going back in history, and some people redeeming themselves if they could in present.
Yes.
So I think it's a great idea, and I really hope that you get this film made.
Yes, and I know some people because I also act, and I've been in plays and in other films and have contacts with people. So I already have some people in mind for playing these various different roles, you know. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to translate it into Italian, because I actually can see this film not only being done in this country,
Mhm.
but being done actually in Italy,
Absolutely.
about not only played by Italians,
Hmm.
of Italian teenagers and growing up, but also uh, speaking Italian. In other words, a film about Italian Americans
Hmm.
that gets filmed and played in Italy, if you will. Not Italians growing up in Italy, but Italians growing up in the United States. Sort of like, anyway. So I think could have a wide.
Speak a little broken English.
Yeah, right, right.
A little
And
flavor.
there's some spirituality elements to it, and I think could have a wide appeal. So I'm really excited about that and being part of your festival.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you've won a few awards with the Happy Trans Girl. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Happy Trans Girl Like Me is a 17-minute documentary about myself, my own transition from living as a man for most of my life to about 10 years ago, uh, deciding to stop living in two genders, because I was a cross dresser from when I was age 10, but I was presenting very much as a male. And, I lived a male life, wife, child, house, all of that, job. And then finally, it became too much on me. And I realized that my life was going by and I wasn't being the female that I wanted to be all my life. And then a few incidents happened. I believe in karma and destiny and the impact of people in your life. And those things happened. And then I decided to go full-time female. And as soon as I did, everything started opening up for me. I started doing stand-up comedy, a lot of it, as a way to express myself. And that really helped me. So instead of just transitioning to female and being closeted still about it,
Mhm.
I went full out with it. And then I decided
Could happen through comedy, right? Anything you could. I mean,
like in you, like in your case with your film St. Joseph,
comedy.
comedy is a phenomenal way to deal with therapy. You know, I also have a radio show called Crisis Help Radio Show, and we explore on that show how different hobbies, different passions, basically, like stand-up comedy, writing, art, film, plays, football, whatever your passion is, when you start doing that, it attracts the good karma of other people and really allows that to happen. So the comedy, so I put together a number of these comedy sets or pieces of comedy that were really about my transition. And then I did that, and I combined that with some other scenes. And in fact, one scene was from the New York City Pride Parade, which comes to mind now, this being Pride Month, where I got on the float, the Episcopal Church float, and went down Christopher Street, which is a very famous street in the Village, proud of being a transgender female, and literally thousands of people waving and stuff like that. And that scene is in the film. And thanks to you.
That wasn't planned, right?
Wasn't planned.
Wasn't planned. I think that's what made it so much fun.
Right. I think most things in life really aren't planned. I did I'm going to be in on Friday a virtual art exhibit. You know, now that we are all, not able to be live, I've been doing some wood sculptures. I have some steel sculptures, and I have paintings, as you know, some acrylic paintings. And 3 of them have been accepted into this. It's called See Me. It's a virtual art exhibit for the New Rochelle Council of the Arts, and that's going to be on Friday. I'm very proud of that.
Oh, I know. See Me. They did the Times Square thing, right? That was a organization that did.
Well, actually, I think this is not that organization.
Oh, okay.
They use that name.
Okay.
It's really a celebration of LGBT life.
Okay.
Now, in LGBT life, I've become a trans advocate because many people, some still, misunderstand what transgender means. They associate, if you're transgender, then that means you're automatically not heterosexual, which is very far from the truth. Most transgender females, who are men who live as women, are married with children and actually prefer the company of women. So part of that film was also to show how happy I am being trans, but also shed some light on and about what it means to be trans also. And so I've used that film in a number of different screenings throughout the metropolitan area. And